Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me and this is the first time you're seeing my face, hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So I hope that's why you're here, because that's what's gonna be happening today. If you're not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have a book review. As you can see from the day's title of the video, it is a book review on To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. This is one of my viewer recommendation books. If you are not familiar with what my viewer recommendation books are, they are books that have been recommended to me by my viewers that I drew on my TBR, and I read the book and then I give a full book review on it. So that's what this is. And this book is a doozy. I'm very, very happy to start off the year with this book review because this one was interesting to say the least. So if you like to find out what I think and my thoughts and feelings of what worked, what didn't work, and all that jazz on this dark Rapunzel retelling, which is the start to a trilogy, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking some books. Okay, so like I said, this is a viewer recommended TBR book and review that goes along with it. And this was a interesting experience. There were a lot of good points. There was a lot of bad points. So let's just dive right in, guys. Let's just go right in. So here's some stats. This is the first installment to the Crystal Bloom trilogy, and it is a completed trilogy, so if you do pick this up and you like it, you can marathon it, so they are all out, which is a huge, huge plus. It was a viewer recommendation, and I listened to this on audio. I found it on Audible, and the audiobook was done by Chelsea Stevens and Troy Duran. I picked it up because of Troy Duran, because I'm a fan of his voice, and I was super pumped because I'm a fan of his voice. So I thought it'd be really cool to do the audiobook. And we will get to why my voice does not sound super energetic and more like, haha, it was a bad idea. We'll get to it, I promise. But like I said, this is a dark Rapunzel retelling. We also feature adult graphic content. We have blood exchange and self-harm, but it's just the tips of the fingers and a few other areas, but it's nothing like mental disorder, psychological, or anything based off of like self-harm like that. It is explained and it's used and it's demonstrated on page, but I just want to make you guys aware of it in case that you guys get unless you are one of those squeamish people that doesn't handle that well. We also do feature drug and alcohol use. This drug and alcohol use is this is a fantasy, so it is a fantastical drug and alcohol use, but it definitely resembles modern day drug and alcohol. So please be warned about that. We also feature an age gap. We have gaslighting. This is a character driven plot with a very, very slow burn romance. I mean, it is snail slow, guys. It is snail slow. Oh my God. It's also a forbidden romance with a close proximity trope. We have secrets, and we do have a cliffhanger ending, as this is the start of a trilogy that must be read in order to understand the entirety of the story. So there's a lot of stuff in this. A lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff, a lot of mediocre stuff, a lot of stuff to unpack. So before we get into it, why did I choose this book? Other than the fact that it was a viewer recommendation, I already had this book in my Kindle, because it was recommended to me on a list that if you like Sarah J. Maas, you would appreciate or like this book. So I picked it up because I liked the cover, and it was also recommended because I do like Sarah J. Maas, and I was looking for something similar to her. So I put it in my Kindle, but I just kind of forgot about it, never got to it. You know how it goes, guys. You know how it goes. And then I got a viewer recommendation for it by Patricia at My Romance Has No Limits, and this was her favorite book of 2022. So I was really excited. And also, she was the first one to fill out my book recommendation form. She was the first one I ever received. So I thought that was really cool that the first one I ever received, I already had the book. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of neat. So it kind of a cool little story to go with it. I was really excited when I drew this one because of all those little nuances. And I didn't have a horrible time, but I know I could have had a better time for sure. So let's get into the summary of this. We follow Orlaith for primarily majority of the book, like 95% of the book. Okay, guys, 95% of the book. And we follow Orlaith, and we are introduced Orlaith as a 2-year-old while she's being rescued by our other one of our main characters, Rorden. And Rorden is a unique character. You see, whatever species Rorden is, or culture he does not like whatever Orlaith is. And we see this awesome opening epic scene in the beginning, and then we find out that she is what she is, and then we have him cursing the sky that, no, I will not be tempted, I will not succumb to this, she will live. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Like, right off the bat, okay, let's just start this shit off with a bang. And then we have a 19-year age gap, or 19-year time jump, where we get reintroduced to Orlaith, and we start to see a little bit of her daily, day-to-day life, which is fairly mundane. She likes to garden, she likes to paint rocks, she likes to cause mischief, and we learn a little bit about her. We also learn that she has some odd tics. Loud sounds or certain pitches of sounds affect her, and she has a very distinct bubble that she does not like being fucked with. She does not like being pushed out of her bubble. She does not like being made uncomfortable. She has her little area that she likes to roam around in, and that's where she likes to stay. End of discussion. So we learn a lot about her through this beginning of the story. And once we've kind of got a pretty good idea of who she is walking into it as now a 20, 21-year-old, we learn that the world outside her bubble is starting to be affected by the same creatures that destroyed her world when she was 2. So her shit's about to get rocked on the outside. But while that's happening, she's coming into sexual maturity. So she's developing, she's learning, she's growing. So her internal body's also getting her shit rocked. So she's just having a bad time all the way around. All right, she just is, straight up. But as her world starts to unravel, interior and exterior, we start to learn about some secrets within Castle Noir, which is where she's at. And we learn about her rescuer who raised her after saving her when she was 2. We start to learn these secrets about him and her and the people and the past, but yet we learn absolutely nothing. We just learn that there are secrets, but we don't actually know what they fucking are. And then we get stuck with a cliffhanger that answers nothing. It gives so many questions and gives no answers. And it's extremely unnerving, extremely irritating, and makes you want to pick up the second book immediately because you're just like, you did not just leave me like that. Bitch, you knew you did not. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. It's a pretty intense cliffhanger, guys. It's a pretty intense cliffhanger. I will give it that. Very, very intense cliffhanger. So, what worked? Right off the bat, the opening scene. Like I said, this thing was awesome. We open up, Orlaith is protecting herself by this magic little bubble that she was able to conjure at 2 from what looks to be like these giant wolf things, which I think are actually something else, but I'm not 100% sure because, again, secrets. Know there's a secret. Know there's a thing, but I don't know what the thing is, but I fucking know there is because the way you're writing it. Okay, a lot of this. But we see Rorden battle these guys down, and then we see him rescue her and realize what she is and start cursing the sky like, no, she will live. I will not be tempted. She will live. And I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck did I just walk into? What did I just walk into? And this is Troy Durant's voice in my head doing this with this gravelly, awesome voice. And I was just like, I'm gonna be so happy. I'm gonna have such a good time. I was so excited. And then we get the jump. And then we get the time jump, which kind of throws you for a loop, but it is understandable. And then our story progresses. So that opening scene caught my eye, hooked me. Let's do this. I'm in it to win it. Definitely good opening scene for sure. I was in it. I was like, let's go. Let's fucking go. The next thing that really worked was this original concept of girl is rescued, girl is raised by rescuer, but rescuer, there's secrets. The rescuer has secrets. The girl has secrets. And the secrets are starting to be revealed because everything comes to light eventually. You can only hide for so long. You can't hide up in a tower for the rest of your life. Eventually, things need to change and develop and evolve. And I really liked this. I liked this original concept. I liked this idea that, okay, we've had this nice, mundane, peaceful sort of existence for the last 19 years, and now it's time to get rocked. But the way our author did it is she gave us enough of this mundane existence that we got comfortable in the mundane. Usually in high fantasy novels or fantasies or fantasy romances, you as the reader are being dropped in at the moment. You're just kind of plop, you're in, and you only get a brief idea of kind of what the world looked like prior to your entrance into it, and before everything starts to go fucking bullshit and haywire and crazy and cause all the drama and get the story going. What Parker does that I thought was a unique concept, and I enjoyed this, is she gave us a lot of what the everyday life looked like for Orlaith, what her normal routine was, what her normal attitude was for certain situations. Just these daily, everyday tasks that you become accustomed to yourself and start to take for granted before the changes start to come. So you as the reader feel agitated when the changes start to happen as well, because you've gotten comfortable in this mundane. And that is part of this original concept that worked, was this is how it's always been and now it's not. And this is a huge fucking issue for Orlaith. Okay, a huge issue for her, because she's always wanted a routine, a series of events, a certain control over what's going on, self-imposed boundaries, and things are now being forced upon her, or she's being forced out of her boundaries with these secrets that are being brought to life, but we still know what the secrets are. We just know that they're there now. Another thing I really enjoyed was the world building. I enjoyed the world that Parker built. I enjoyed what she did. This world of secrets. And that's essentially what it is. It's a world of secrets, because you don't really know shit. When I really sat down and thought about this, it's more like a puzzle. So I love doing puzzles, and I have a specific routine of when I do a jigsaw puzzle. I grab all the border pieces and I put them together first. And then I start breaking all the interior pieces up by color. So it's kind of grouped in their color schemes. So I kind of know what pieces to work on at the time. And what she did in this book is kind of give us the border, okay? She gave us the border. And then she gave us the image on top of the border, where you can kind of sort of see what's over in this corner. You're like, okay, so this might be a building here, so it's probably gonna be these color schemes over here, and this is some kind of ground over here, so this should be some ground. So she gives us these pieces, which are our secrets, but we don't actually know what the secret is, just like we don't know what the image is until we actually put them all together. And then she's conveniently just cut us off at the world building, and this environment of secrets. She just stopped it with the cliffhanger. So there's still pieces to be separated out by color. So we don't have all of our piles yet. So we can't actually start putting shit together. And my OCD is going nuts over here. Okay, it is. I'm going crazy, and I don't like it, but it worked for the story. It definitely was like, I have to read book 2 now because you did that. Damn you. Damn you. So I thought with her world building and her environment building and giving us this good foundation that there's a lot of stuff we don't know, but she gave us the foundation to want to know it. She gave us just enough that our palates were wet for it, and now we want to taste, and we can't have it until we get book 2. So I thought she did a really good job with that, which leads me to the next item that worked, was the unanswered questions. There were almost too many, okay? She is walking this line of too many unanswered to be comfortable for Jackie, okay? Jackie's got a limit, and she's about there. She's about fucking there with the unanswered questions. But the ones that are unanswered, majority of them were very strategically chosen. because they are ones that I need to figure out what the secrets are. And everybody, not just secrets in the castle, but people are secrets as well, which makes this even more frustrating because I can't really judge the character because I don't actually know who the fucking character is because they're not who they are or they're supposed to be or who I've been introduced as. So that's really fucking irritating as all get out, but it's very, very well done and well chosen and strategically placed because these are big enough that they irritate you to force you to want to continue, but she gives you just enough detail to know that you only need a few more elements to create this picture to actually understand it. So you're like right there on the precipice and you're like, I need like 2 more pieces, lady. Can you just give it to me? Nope, we're gonna shut the book. Okay, that's fine. We're gonna finish the book. I'm gonna be angry for a little bit. Thanks. But the shit worked. Strategy worked. Questions that she left unanswered definitely worked. I'm piqued. I'm interested. I want to fucking know. Okay? I want to know. Just for my own sanity, I want to know. Even the ones I don't actually give a shit about, I want to know because of where you cut me off and left me with them. I'm like, God, really well done with the unanswered questions, but almost too many. I mean, she is right there on that precipice, guys. Like right there. Right there. I really enjoyed her side characters a lot. Her side characters were dope. So there are 3 main side characters. We've got Kai, who's this like little fishy merman guy. I think they call him a drake. A lot of secrets around him. We don't really know a lot about him. What we know is that he's obsessed with treasure. There's a demon inside him that's obsessed with treasure. So he kind of is obsessed with treasure by default. He genuinely cares for Orlaith, as I don't see him being a love interest, but I see him being a really close friend because out of all the characters in the story, he's the one that genuinely talks to her as almost like an equal for majority of the story. She doesn't get talked to very well by most of the cast and characters for most of the story, but he talks to her on kind of like a level playing field. And I'm intrigued by where we're going to go with him because I know there's shit with him because of some of the very, very minute reveals that we were given, like the minute amount of reveals we were given. He is one of the reveals that were given. One of like a tie, but I don't know what to do with the said tie yet, but we know that there is something else there, another drop bomb, but it makes me very intrigued to what we're going to do with their relationship. I like this friend aspect that's going in, and I'm wondering how that's going to further develop for sure. We also have Kane, who is looking like he's going to be another love interest, but not so much a mutual love interest, more of a love interest of convenience, which is a really interesting angle to take a love triangle in, which I'm very intrigued by this. He definitely seems like the one, though, who has the ulterior motive, like going up to Orlaith and saying, look, I see what you're trying to do here. Let me help you. You help me, I help you. We both get what we want, and we have a good fucking time while we're doing it. So is it a bad guy? Is he not? I don't really know yet. But definitely I like this angle of this love triangle of convenience thing going on with him. I think that's going to be pretty interesting to see. I'm also interested to see what Parker does with him, seeing as how the book ends, where that goes. And then we have Baze. Baze is my favorite. Okay, I'm calling him right now. He's my favorite. He is the one that we know pretty much the least about of the side characters. We're given the least amount of information about him until the very end, and the information we're given is still like, what? What? I'm sorry. This was hiding. All right. We'll just, okay. All right. Now I'm even more confused because I had him pegged as, you know, kind of like the brother, the one who actually genuinely cares about Orlaith. She's not a pain in the ass. Well, she is a pain in the ass to him. She is, straight up. She's like a little sister to him, okay? But he seems to genuinely care about her. But I feel like there's a loyalty that's higher than her, and there's going to be some nasty stuff that happens to him, and I don't want it because I like him. He's snarky, he's funny, and he likes to bang her handmaid all the time. And I think that's hilarious. And I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I've already got a soft spot for him, and I don't want anything bad to happen to him, and I feel like he's going to be. I feel like he's being already offered up for slaughter, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong on that one. I really do. But all of her side characters, I want to see more from. I'm intrigued by what I got, and I want more. So that's a really big plus for me. Side characters, usually, sometimes you can take or leave them, but these side characters, I think, are definitely going to be kind of special. Just, I don't know how yet, and I'm intrigued. I find myself in this book trying to figure out the ending a lot more than I do in most books. Whether it's because it's laid out where it could be a clear-cut, yeah, here you stereotypical cookie-cutter fantasy romance trilogy, here you go. Or she could take it in a whole nother level and do some crazy-ass shit. Because I've only had one experience with her, so I don't know what kind of author she is. Is she the, I'm going to lead you down this path and then, surprise, plot twist? Or is she going to be the cookie cutter? I don't know. It's set up to feel cookie cutter, but I don't know if it is because there are so many secrets. And she chose the mechanic of telling me there's a secret, but giving me nothing about it. So really, it could go either way. So the know-with-all to give me that mechanic to put me down this path tells me that she's also smart enough to not to take the obvious route, the cookie cutter route. But at the same time, she's built these characters up and kind of almost pigeonholed them already in this story of their roles that I don't know if she's got the chops to pull them back out. So we're going to see. We're going to find out. But I like where it's going. I like where it's going, and I'm hoping that we see some crazy twists. I wouldn't even mind a hybrid of kind of cookie cutter plus some drops and some crazy shit. I feel like that could be a thing too. Like, just a lot of possibilities with this book. A lot of them. I also loved our male hero, kind of slotted character of Rorden. He is Orlaith's rescuer. I loved that I got pretty much fuck all about him. I love that. The little bit I got is very contradictory. So I have no idea where to land with him. Is he a father figure to Orlaith? Is he a love interest to Orlaith? Is he annoyed by Orlaith? Is he just keeping her as a possession? Like, what is Orlaith to him? And what is he to her? Actually, we have a pretty good idea what he is to her in her fucking mind, which we'll get to. But I loved that there was so much mystery shrouding him. I thought that was awesome because that could take him anywhere, which lends to that idea that maybe she could do some crazy drop stuff, some crazy off the wall, where the fuck this come from, because you haven't given me any real clear path with him. You've given me a lot of possible paths, but like no real gravitational pull to either one of them with your main character, which I thought was pretty dope. I thought that was a really cool tactic to choose with him. Also, I love the fact that Rorden calls Orlaith on her bullshit. I love it. Now, there's a couple other characters that call her on her bullshit, but the way he does it, oh, there's a few times in this book that he slams her, and it is fucking priceless. It hurts. It hurts, but goddamn is it good. It's so good. There's one line. I'm very upset it was not in Troy Duran's voice. Very upset about that. But the line itself, awesome. Awesome. Because that slam came out of fucking nowhere. We're talking a polarizing reaction from what he was just doing to that fucking line. I was like, whoa, you're that guy. That's going to be so much fun to play with. Oh my God. I want to rip this guy apart. I want to eviscerate him and just see what makes him tick, because he is just slamming Orlais left, right, 7 ways till Sunday, but at the same time shows this caring side for her. But why is it caring? Is it because he cares about her, or because he needs to keep her satiated because of what she does for him, which we're still trying to figure out because it's not really explained. We have this sacrificial element where she has to prick her finger every night and put a drop of blood in a glass of water and give it to him. And I'm assuming he's consuming it, but we don't know why. Why does he need this? Why does he want this? And when she denies it from him, why does he take it by force? So obviously it is something that's potent and needed and necessary. So is he keeping her out of the goodness of his heart? Is he keeping her because he loves her? Is he keeping her because it's just possession, almost like a slave? Again, all this like coulda, woulda, shoulda, who is he? Why? So many questions about him. But I do feel like she's setting him up for something bad. And I don't know how I feel about that. But at the same time, I also see it being a very big, cool plot, cosmic twist sort of situation. So really loving Roridan, really, really enjoying him a lot. Pretty much all the male characters I am pretty much dying for. But Baze is mine. He's my fave so far. He's my fave. However, with as much secrecy and as much intrigue as this book gave, and this lyrical writing style that she has, as beautiful as it was, there were some things in this book that I didn't think worked. I didn't think worked out to her advantage. And so we're going to talk about them. So this is what didn't work. And I'm going to preface this. I listened to this on audio, and I feel like a lot of some of the issues I'm about to talk to you about are directly linked because it was an audiobook. I feel like they still would have been issues, but not as big and not as prevalent if I had physically read this book, because I did not have a good time with this audiobook. It was not a good time. I do not recommend reading this on audio for multiple reasons. One reason is this is a primarily from Orlais' perspective. The male narrator, who I picked the audiobook for, appears 4 times. 4 times. In a 12-hour and 47-minute audiobook, he's actually speaking maybe a grand total of maybe 45 minutes. What? That's annoying as fuck. I hate when audiobooks do that, and it just puts a sour taste in my mouth. It usually can be redeemed if I like the female narrator, and I didn't. I did not care for her performance. And I did not care for her performance for several reasons. One, it is clearly stated in the book, in the description of Orlais' character and characteristics, that she has a very strange voice. It is gravelly. It does not sound like it's coming from this girl, because her voice box was damaged when she was younger, during the big opening climactic scene that we see in the very beginning of the book. And people are reacting to this voice. The first time they hear it, they're kind of taken aback by what it sounds like. It's not sweet and doesn't sound pretty. It's not the voice the narrator gave her. She gave her this kind of irritatingly sweet voice, and it just set me off wrong. I'm like, okay, you're already not giving the representation of the character that was written, which pisses me off to begin with. I don't like that. So that irritated me. That already set me on a negative tone for this narrator. And then I had to hear her for pretty much 95% of the book. No. No, no, no. Another thing that I didn't care about for this audiobook is this book has a lot of layers. There's a lot of lyrical description. It's a very wordy description. And I'm all for detail. Don't get me wrong, I love detail. And I'm a bitch that can talk, okay? I am guilty of doing this, saying the same thing 4 or 5 times in different ways just to get my point across. I am guilty of it. I know I am. But in a book, listening to a voice that I don't really like, in a world that is very convoluted and full of secrets, it's already very kind of confusing to listen to, that kind of writing does not work. It just didn't work. At least with the audiobook. I feel like if maybe I would have physically read it, I would have been able to get through it. Would it still have annoyed me? Absolutely. It still would have been a negative against this. But in the audiobook format, it's obnoxious. It's obnoxious. I mean, the way our author, she is giving us so much detail of very minute things. Like we're talking like down to paint colors of what they look like. She's trying to give this very beautiful visual representation of the story. And I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate that very, very, very much so. But the way she was going about doing it did not lend itself well to the audiobook. It didn't lend itself well to physically reading it either, but it could have been tolerated physically reading it. An audiobook, it was not. It was not. It was not beneficial because it made me lose my place and forget what the fuck was going on because there was just so much. We get a emotion from Orlaith. She's looking at some paints and how it makes her feel. And then she describes this feeling by using other instances, similes actually, to give us this description. Instead of just describing this feeling, she's describing it using a whole nother set of descriptors that I have to now imagine while I'm listening to it and then transpose it to meet this. And it was just a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it was not fun with an audiobook. An audiobook, I enjoy description and lyricalism, but I want more straightforwardness in my audiobooks. So that is why one of the main reasons I don't recommend this audiobook. There's just too much detail. There's too much information. There's too much unknowns. I feel like physically reading it will better absorb that information. So when it references back to an unknown, you could still remember it better than listening to it in a voice you didn't like listening to in the first place. You know what I mean? So, yeah. The pace of the novel. After that opening scene, it slows the fuck down. It becomes a novel of where nothing happens until the very end. We see little minor changes and little minor events, but nothing really seriously big. It's boom, and then like this, and then goes like this. And then we might get a little blip here, and maybe a little blip here, and a little blip here, but it's pretty much constant of just kind of like mundane. A lot of nothing happens. Just the everyday stuff, which was setting up for why it's such a big deal when these little things affect Orlaith. But as a reader, you're kind of like, okay, can we get on with the story? Can we get on with it? And then on top of that, you add this over description and over layering of mundane things like walking a flight of fucking stairs and describing why her feet hurt. Mundane things of describing how bright and beautiful a picture looks. I get it. It's gorgeous. You told me 4 or 5 fucking times in 5 different ways with 5 different similes. I fucking get it. It's a pretty goddamn picture. Let's move the fuck on, okay? It got really, really irritating, and it slowed the pace of this book down so much. And the world building that she was doing, it didn't work together well for me. This is for me. It didn't work well for me until about the end of the book when all the action started taking place, and then we started speeding up, and then it's like bam, 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 bam. I'm like, oh my God, where was all of this in the last 80% of this damn book? Where was it? Where the fuck was it? Because damn. Okay. So the pace it was not working for me. And then on top of that, I had this pace in the audiobook. Now, something about me with audiobooks that you might want to know, I listen to them on the 1.0 speed, the generic speed, the default speed. I very, very rarely speed up audiobooks. And I sped this bad boy up to 1.5. Because I got so tired and how slow it was going. I was like, I am going to fall asleep if I listen to this on my normal speed. It was incredibly, incredibly slow. Incredibly slow. So I was just like, I can't. And even at 1.5, it was still incredibly slow moving because there wasn't a lot of action. There wasn't a lot of stuff happening that seemed like it was relevant or important. We find out later that it kind of is, but you don't know why. So you don't really appreciate when those things happen because there are so many secrets. That was kind of a downside to this, is that there were so many secrets that when something big happened, you weren't aware of something big happening until the very end. And then it all falls into place. You're like, oh, well, I would have enjoyed that scene a hell of a lot more if I knew the fuck was going on. Like, she saved everything for the end, which was awesome, but it drug in the middle of this book. It drug on and on. The next thing that didn't quite work for me was this forced taboo obsession element. And I say forced because I feel like it was. So we have Royden and Orlaith. There is an obvious age gap, okay? He rescued her when she was 2. She's in her early 20s now. Obviously, he was a full-grown man. But this is a fantasy world. It's a fantasy world. And you already know that there's magical realism and magic involved in the system because of what is going on and some of the little nuances that you do pick up. You realize, okay, there is magic involved. There's things. So really, is there an age gap? I mean, I don't know what the life expectancies of these characters are. In fantasy, fairies live for hundreds of years. So what really is an age gap for a fairy? So I didn't like the fact that that was kind of like, kind of forced in on us. Who gives a shit, okay? Who cares? Whatever. There is an age gap, but it's magical realism. So really, is there an age gap? The part that was more of the forced taboo was like this father figure that she shouldn't fall for. It's obvious that Orlaith has feelings for Royden. It's very obvious. Sometimes there are feelings of hate, and sometimes there are feelings of want, and sometimes there's feelings of love. It's a very fluid feeling for her. It kind of just goes like this a lot. Back and forth, back and forth. And we get a lot of scenes in the book of him kind of chastising her, like almost like a father would. And then we also get scenes where he's talking to her like a father shouldn't. Here's my thing. I don't necessarily see a father figure. The words that are coming out of his mouth, absolutely. I see where this father figure, you want us to visualize this father figure, but I don't. Want to know why I don't? Is because I have no context of him actually raising her from 2 to 19. Or 2 to 21 or however old she is. I have no context in those 19 years. We have no past flashbacks of it. We don't see any, these structural lessons of a child growing we don't have any of those moments that would help solidify this father figure sort of thing. What we have is walking in and sitting down at a dinner table and him chastising her for not going to a party or saying you are going to the party, you need to get out of your room and you need to expound and you need to live your life. Yes, that is a fatherly thing to say. It's also just a decent thing to say to somebody who's closed off and scared of her own goddamn shadow. Not a fatherly thing to say. It can be if I had fatherly context of actual raising her, which I don't. So this whole speaking in a fatherly sort of tone, taboo, force, I don't buy it. I think it's dumb. I didn't like it. Because the way I saw it was more of like, I'm the master of this house. This is my house. You're going to do what I say. That's the element I saw, is that she was being an unruly ward, not a sarcastic, disrespectful teenage daughter. That's not, in those instances, that's not what I was seeing from him. Okay? I just saw him saying, this is my fucking house, fuck off. Which is something a father might say. I mean, he might, depending on what household you're in. But I had no context of him actually being a father, so I never saw him like that. I just saw him as, laying down the law. End of story. Mothers can lay down laws too, so it's not, gender specific. And then there's also this kind of obsession element that's kind of brought to light at the very end, which does, it seems a little bit more convincing than the father element because of what the sacrifice is and kind of this need for her. I kind of understand where this obsession thing is coming from, but the severity of the obsession is, there's no real evidence to back it. And so the final Hail Mary pass of pushing this obsession with the final big climactic reveal, it felt kind of short for me because I didn't have any prior evidence. I needed more prior evidence of these taboo elements, this father figure element, this obsession element. I needed more evidence to back it up than what I got. I didn't get enough of it because 85% of this book was pretty much nothing really happening. Except for some little blips here and there. And the last thing that I didn't think really worked was Orlaith. Wasn't a fan. And I do believe majority of that is because of the audiobook, because of her delivery. The female narrator's delivery of her. Orlaith is a sheltered, naive girl. And I do understand that sheltered girls who, live in a tower, they might not know certain things or certain nuances, how to act around certain people. I did not get the I don't know feeling from her. I got a girl, the representation I was given through the delivery from the narrator was a girl who knew her own personal bubble inside and out and wanted to, and felt entitled to be able to walk anywhere within her bubble, no matter if it pissed people off or not. She told people off all the time, especially about her gardening. I got a very whiny, immature, sarcastic, in a disrespectful way, almost teenager who's going through puberty. That's what I got. I did not get a youth who has been sheltered and cloistered away and scared of everything. She's scared of nothing. She just chooses not to she chooses to not partake in it. She's got the guts to do it, but she lacks the follow through, which is where the teenager element comes in. I'm just like, you don't actually want it that badly, because when she wanted it that badly, she fucking made it happen. So does she really not like being around? She might not like being around people. Okay, the ball. She doesn't want to be around large groups of people. But knowing that, why would you pick a dress that literally makes you stand out? Oh, that's right, because you want to one-up Rorden, who says now you can't go. You don't want to go to this ball, but then when he says you're off the hook and you don't have to go, you decide to go and you wear a dress to end all fucking dresses, to make sure everybody's fucking staring at you, which you literally just whined and complained about for the last 2 fucking chapters that you don't want happening. Dumb. That's immature. That's not sheltered. That's fucking immature. And that's dumb. And that was the impression I got of her. So I did not care for Orlaith's representation. Now, towards the end of the book, where she kind of started getting her shit together and kind of growing up a little bit, there I got it. I was like, okay, I see some promise in you, but you still got a long way to go. But as of right now, not a fan of her. Not a fan of her. But I do believe it has a lot to do with the way she was delivered. Because some of these lines that were kind of these cheeky, sort of like innocent, like, oh, I don't really know kind of lines. They weren't delivered like, oh my God, I didn't know I wasn't allowed to be here. Oops, I'm so sorry. This innocent not knowing. They weren't delivered like that. They were delivered like, oh, well, I wasn't aware I wasn't supposed to be here because I'm allowed everywhere. Mean girl. I got mean girl tone, not nice girl made a fucking mistake tone. You know what I mean? It didn't sit well with me. And what the fuck is up with her being so fucking horny all the goddamn time? I mean, seriously, this bitch, every other fucking page is horny. Goddamn, go take care of yourself. Are you too big of a princess to do that? Like, seriously, man, go fucking take care of it. Every single guy, like, I understand you're coming to your sexual maturity, you know, teen, boy crazy, everything, which also didn't lend to this immature, which did lend to this immature image of her. It's like, I'm just gonna go with what my body feels like. It's like, you have no fucking self-control. And I'm like, oh my God, I fucking hate this. I graduated high school already. I don't want to hear about this shit. Thank you. Move on. Go take care of it yourself. Go to your room. Take your big girl panties off. Have some fun. If one hand gets tired, use the stranger. It's cool. Fine. We've all done it. Go the fuck on and quit bitching about it because nobody wants to hear about how fucking horny you are. All right? Nobody cares. Because I didn't. I did not care how horny she was because nothing happened. Except for one time, which brings me to my spice rating. My spice rating is a 2.5 on Chili Pepper scale. There is a lot of angst, a lot of buildup, a lot of internal, oh my God, kind of burning sensations, in the good kind of burning sensations. Let me be honest about that. But not a lot of follow through because most of it is just in Orlay's fucking head and she doesn't go and do anything about it. She talks a big game, but never actually backs anything up. And then she kind of puts Rorden in uncomfortable positions. But there is one time where it becomes too much because she goes into what they call heat. And that gives us like one of the only real graphic scenes. And it's pretty dope. And then Rorden lays it on her and basically tells her to go fuck herself because he's never doing it again. Not that he did. But it was dope. Love that scene. That was fun. It was a really intense scene. It was hot. It was steamy. There was begging. There was give and take from dominance and submissive. There was a lot of aspects I liked in that scene. And then he basically said, that's the last time I'm ever going to fuck you. Figure out how to fuck your own fingers. Have a nice day. And I was like, yes, call this bitch on her bullshit. Yes. Loved it. Fell in love with Rorden in that scene. Right there. That's when I fell in love with him. But yeah, there's a lot of angst and slow burn. So if you like slow burns, this is a book for you. I'm hoping that the next book relieves more than builds because this bitch is gonna die if she doesn't take care of this because she's horny 24/7, okay? 24 fucking 7. And of course, every guy around her's fucking gorgeous. So let's just be honest, it's fantasy romance. They're all pretty. But yeah, 2.5 on the Chili Pepper scale. Which brings me to my final thoughts. I do not recommend this book on audio. I really believe that a lot of the gripes I have with this book are directly correlated with the audiobook. I feel like they still might be issues with the book, but I feel like they're issues that I could possibly have worked out and maybe overcome if I physically read it. So I do not recommend this on audiobook. If you are going to listen to the audiobook, please read along in the physical copy of the book so you get that double extra retention because there is a lot. There's a lot of description, a lot of layering of these secrets without giving much. So if you don't get a big reveal, a big, oh my God moment, it's hard to retain that information. You just know that something's fucking going on, but you don't actually know what it is. And that's hard for a lot of people to retain. So I do not recommend this on audiobook, but because I did not have a good time with the audiobook. When I continue on the series, because I do plan on continuing with the series, I will be physically reading the books. Because anytime I've ever had a bad experience with an audiobook in a series, I tend to not listen to the audiobooks anymore and I just physically read them afterwards. And that's worked in my favor every single time. So every single time I've ended up really enjoying the rest of the series. It might still be just a 3-star series, but I enjoy it a lot more than what the audiobook gave me for sure. So definitely recommend physically reading this book. But if you are going to risk the audio, make sure you have the physical copy along with you to like maybe refresh, remind, because there's a lot and it's given to you in very detailed, flowery, layered language that you have to kind of like weed through to figure out the kernels of what's actually important. If you are a fan of a slow burn and a lot of angst, absolutely. I think you'll enjoy this without a doubt. Absolutely. Lots of slow burn, lots of angst, all up in that. All up in that. You can be sexually frustrated with Orlaith all day long if you like. Okay, there's a shit ton. I feel like there's a lot of characters that show real promise, and I feel like there are characters that need to be built up and be worked on for sure. The heroine being one of them. I feel like towards the end I started seeing it, so I'm anxious to see if that growth continues. I hope it does, because where she was, the trajectory that she was set on, I can get behind. But if she stays this immature, disrespectful, whiny, sarcastic little brat, I'm not having it. I'm not. The little girl needs to stay in the fucking tower, and the woman needs to rise, okay? Because I'm not, no. I don't do Mean Girl, okay? I just don't. I don't care. It's a waste of my time. But she, towards the end of the book, did start showing promise, so I'm fingers crossed and holding my breath that Parker continues with that, because I think that will be a very noticeable difference and a very noticeable arc. And I feel like that will be very much appreciated with this story, especially with all these secrets. I think it will force that arc faster with some of the secrets that we possibly might get revealed. So I'm intrigued by that for sure. This book was recommended to me first before Patricia recommended it to me. If you like Sarah J. Maas. In good conscience, I cannot say that. I feel like I need more experience with this series to really say, in good conscience, if you like Sarah J. Maas, you will like this. I think you will understand this book if you understand Sarah J. Maas. If you like Sarah J. Maas, I think you will see that Parker is writing in the same vein, but she does not write like Sarah J. Maas. I feel like Parker's story is already very formulated, and she knows where it's going to go. That's why she's left so much, what it looks like so many open-ended things, because she wants to distract us from what's really going on, which is fine, and it's a great mechanic. Good for her. Kudos. I feel like Sarah J. Maas, when she wrote her story, had an idea where it was going, but she was more open to letting her characters tell the story more than the author forcing them in certain ways. So by giving us all these options, it's kind of giving the adverse effect. So in good conscience, I cannot say if you like Sarah J. Maas, you will like this book. Should you give this book a try? Yes, because I feel like it's something that could be like Sarah J. Maas, but Sarah J. Maas is Sarah J. Maas. End of story. Okay? And my last thought is Baze better not die. Whatever trajectory she puts him on, Bastard better not die, because I feel like he's my K.All character. I feel like he's destined for really bad things. And I don't want to see him like that because he's my favorite. So, yeah. Baze better not die. Better not die. Just better not die. I swear to God, I'd be so pissed. I already love the guy. I already love him. He is probably my standout character in this book, for sure, is Baze. And he's not even on page a lot. I just really like him. I don't know why. I just do. I think he's funny. And to the person who recommended this book to me, Patricia, thank you so much for your recommendation. I know that you stated that this was your favorite book of 2022. I'm sorry, I don't feel the same way, and I don't hold and share that same sentiment, because my final score for this book is a 3, but that is me giving it an extra star because I feel like the audiobook is, if I based it just off my experience with the audiobook and I did not break it down and really look at what I thought worked versus what didn't work and what I didn't like about the audiobook and take that out of the equation, this would only have been a 2 for me. But because I feel like the audiobook hindered my experience with this book, I want to give it what I think might be fair. And I think if I would have physically read this, it would have been a solid 3 for me. So not a favorite, not a 5-star for me, but I do believe it would have been a solid 3. So that is my final score. And I'm sorry, I did not love it as much as you did, but I'm so happy that you were able to find a book that you love as much as this one. And I do plan on continuing with the rest of the series, but I will be physically reading it so I can see if it was the audiobook or just the book. I want to give it its fair shot because a favorite is a favorite, and it's a favorite for a reason. And I want to know if it can become one of my favorites one day. So thank you again for your recommendation, Patricia. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for being the very first one to ever recommend a book to me on my book rec form. Sorry it took a year to get to you, but thank you nonetheless. And that is what I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys all soon with another video.